What was the lightsaber combat form that Luke Skywalker created? Greetings again, curious acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the archives. The art of lightsaber combat was thought to have been lost after the rise of the Empire. Much of the Jedi knowledge had been completely sealed away by the Empire, and it was completely illegal to even study Jedi practices or teachings. As a result, there was one thing which suffered during the Great Galactic Civil War, which was of course traditional lightsaber combat. Luke Skywalker did his best to revive this ancient art whenever he began his own Jedi Academy, and through the use of some old books, manuscripts, and holocron, Luke was able to feel his way through the 7 forms. However, he didn't actually teach these forms to his students, making a major departure, but instead, Luke would make up his own forms of lightsaber combat, which would be much easier and even faster to learn. So, what exactly were these styles? How did they work? And did they ultimately prove to be better than the original 7 forms of lightsaber combat? Well, today, my friends, let's open up another holocron and discover the truth about the 3 styles that Luke Skywalker taught his students. Not only that, but we are also going to take a look at what lightsaber form Luke himself used and how it may have been nearly perfect. During Luke Skywalker's initial training, he would receive a rudimentary overview of Form 1 Shi-Cho by Ben Kenobi. He actually did this whilst being trained with the remote blast droid in the events of A New Hope. There are a few sources and legends which states that Luke received further lightsaber combat training on Dagobah by Yoda, but we of course know that Yoda mainly wanted Luke to focus on an understanding of the Force rather than lightsaber combat. By the time Luke left Dagobah, he had a pretty solid grasp on how to use the lightsaber, proving this by going up against Darth Vader immediately following on Bespin. During this duel though, it's clear that Vader is going incredibly easy on him because he desired to test his son's abilities, as well as the fact that the Emperor explicitly mentioned that he wanted Luke mostly unspoiled. Having said that, even though Luke was on the back foot for almost the entirety of their duel, we have to acknowledge how well he actually performed against a seasoned lightsaber warrior like Vader. Vader has taken down countless Jedi, and by this point in time, knew the right maneuvers to utterly destroy even venerated Jedi Masters in only a few moves. It was so ingrained into his very fighting style that Vader could have unintentionally annihilated Luke if the boy was the same way he was in A New Hope. Yet, Luke managed to be quick enough on his feet to evade Vader for the most part, and even landed 2 hits on the Sith Lord. Anyway, Luke was a natural lightsaber duelist and combatant, and would go on to make great use of his saber throughout the Civil War. Eventually, Luke would uncover some of the old Jedi manuscripts and journals of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which had more information regarding lightsaber combat. Within the Journal of Kenobi, it highlighted 3 main forms: Form 1, Form 3, and Form 4, Shi-Cho, Sarisu, and Ataru respectively. These would be the main forms that Luke would use for the next couple of years as he fought against the Empire, but were far from his finishing form. Once the Empire fell though, Luke would begin to gain access to Jedi knowledge that Sidious had tucked away, as well as Jocasta Nu's stash of knowledge that she had squirreled away in a cave following Order 66. We learn this information thanks to the Canon Vader series, and this is the same archive that Luke would later discover. Luke would get to study all of this and grow exponentially knowledgeable in all of the forms, along with his power in the Force naturally increasing. But as Luke Skywalker began to establish his Jedi Praxium and his own Jedi Order, he desired to make Jediism more accessible as a whole to Force sensitives. He didn't have time to start with little children and train their entire lives. At that moment, he was looking for any Force sensitive individual he could find. Preferably looking for adults actually, doing so to kick off the Jedi Order as quickly as possible. The first 12 students of Luke Skywalker were all adults. Some of them were his age at this point, and some were even older, with one of Luke's students being an older woman. And then, Luke would do something that was a little controversial. In order to make his Jedi grow stronger and have more growth in the short term, Luke chose to simplify many of the Jedi concepts for this brand new generation, and this included the combination and simplification of the 7 forms of lightsaber combat, reducing them down to only 3 distinct styles. Luke would then call this medium style, fast style, and strong style. Let's begin with our analysis on medium style. The medium style was basically the new 9-man, meaning it was based on a perfect equilibrium between speed and power. More often than not, the medium style was the first taught to all lightsaber duelists in Luke's order. It was a simple technique, yet more technical and powerful forms could actually be built into it. It was more so supposed to be the foundational form from which many styles of combat could evolve. We can assume that it used the simpler moves of Shi-Cho and the all-around tactical usefulness of 9-man. The medium style was very simple in design, and that it was both strength and weakness. It was an excellent style to fall back onto when nothing else worked, and could provide a respectable offense as well as defense, which made it the perfect style for those who were getting started as Jedi and lightsaber duelists. However, its defenses could easily be broken by a more skilled duelist, or someone with especially skilled marksmanship such as Boba Fett. The next style was referred to as fast style, and this consisted of short and quick motions with the blade that could be chained and combined almost indefinitely. This style allowed for multiple attacks and an extremely fast pace. Among all of the styles, this style provided the best defense against blaster fire, though in lightsaber combat it was powerful as well and was a defensive technique, as the user could create a very strong defense against multiple opponents or even a single stronger opponent. Many practitioners of this style were encouraged to combine their lightsaber combat with the ability of force speed, which drastically increased their movement and overall effectiveness with the style. As you can tell, this combines the influences of Ataru and more specifically Surisu, with the main draw being defense and speed. One might as well call this the Kenobi form. However, this form too had its weaknesses. The use of its fast strikes limited the amount of power that one could put into a blow, making it easy for a strike to be parried or even overpowered. Also, its range was considerably short, making it a less effective offense when opponents were more spread out. And finally, we have strong style. Without even going into much detail, we can already say that this style is based around Form 5 Gem So, but it also has many influences from Makashi. It relies primarily on powerful strikes to batter through an opponent's defense, sacrificing speed for unrivaled power. The strong style covered a great distance and was virtually unstoppable unless the opponent responded with enough strength of their own. In lightsaber duels, the powerful strikes of this style could break through lightsaber blocks with relative ease, making it one of the most deadly and destructive forms for a Jedi to wield. However, this style's main weakness was that it was very weak to blaster fire due to the slower and wider motions of the blade, which tended to leave practitioners open to counter-strikes. Because of this, it was solely dedicated to exclusively lightsaber combat. So here, we have the 3 lightsaber combat styles of the new Jedi Order. Interestingly, these styles weren't made with the original idea that the 7 forms had. Rather, the 3 styles were meant to be adapted and built upon an individual user's taste. This encouraged creativity within the Jedi, something that Luke wanted to foster. What many Jedi of Luke Skywalker's order did was mix and match these styles to their own individual taste, with the battle master of this time, Kyle Katarn for example, utilizing mostly medium and strong style combined. Luke himself, however, was a practitioner of them all, but we have a small lead that might insinuate that Luke actually may have used a variation of Vapad. In the novel The New Jedi Order, The Unifying Force, Luke Skywalker engages a Yuzhong Vong warlord by the name of Shimra in his throne room. There, the two have a fierce duel in which Luke uses a strange fighting style with the lightsaber, one that has never been seen before. Out of universe, the author of this book, James Luceno, was interviewed by Robotech. In the interview, they asked him about a popular fan theory that Luke was actually using a variation of Vapad during this fight, and James responded by saying that he liked this interpretation and that it fit with his idea of what Luke was doing here. So we have, in a way, a very vague and backwards confirmation that Luke used some form of Vapad and actually did learn about Vapad to some extent. Unfortunately, this information is not very concrete though by our own admittance, as it was simply a fan theory that James Luceno simply supported, but did not originally have in mind in his interpretation. In that case, we can only say that it is up to an individual and their interpretation whether Luke is knowledgeable in Mace Windu's famous style. But my friends, what do you think of all this? Do you think that the 3 styles of lightsaber combat are more effective than the 7 forms? And also, what is your interpretation of Luke using Vapad? If you agree with it, tell us down below and vote which system of lightsaber combat you would study. Until next time, may the Force be with you and have a great day.